Hello guys, this is Crimson Dante Gamer, and today I am bringing a Aion segment about gear and stats, because a few days ago I got laughed at because I was using a 65 purified weapon and not using one of the Arcnaval weapons for PvP. And the reason why I used a 65 purified weapon and not a level 70 or 75 or any of those is because honestly the stat difference is not really that much on difference to compare it. I already did the math, and as soon as I'm done talking about these stat differences real quick, I will talk about the armor PvP defense, because a lot of people don't get that. The armor PvP defense, because a lot of people think just because they're getting the 75 AP, they automatically get better than the other person in terms of gear and whatnot. And that's not actually the actual case. It is true it gives you more stats and durability in PvP, but it also depends on what else you have in PvP. That also includes your bracelet and your accessories. I have told many people that plussing up your accessories will actually be more worth it than getting the 75 AP. And also it doesn't really matter if you get the, well, it does matter, but not that much amount to get the 75 AP or the 70 IDL, because the IDL don't break, that's one. And two, the difference between the 4-star, alright, the 4-star PvP accessory in terms of PvP attack is about one tempering difference between the 75 and the 4-star accessory. It's just one tempering difference, okay? And the IDL are slightly below the 65 AP accessories, you know, the one with the augment level. Those are the ones I'm talking about. It's about a few, like 2 or 3% stats on PvP attack. But yes, if you get the IDL accessory, I highly advise for you actually to go to, even if you can, to get Boundless. If you can grind for that, you get Boundless plus 4 or 5 that. Or if you can't and you want to go for something cheaper, which honestly will be just as good, is go for the IDL, because an IDL accessory plus 5 is about the same as a plus 4 bounce. Alright, without further ado, I'm gonna talk about the stats on the weapon first. So you see the stat on my weapon, my IS purified weapon. It's about 1325 attack, and my Auglis is 1425. Now the way you do the calculation is, since I am a melee, if you're a Templar as well, you can do this too. This mainly goes for melee classes and not really for magic. Not really for magic. I have to talk to that guy in a little bit. The stat difference is it's about 7%. Okay. You divide 1325 attack by 1425 and you get a 7% stat difference, which honestly is not really a lot in PvP and in PvE. So in general, if you have a purified IS weapon, you're already good to go. Or any of the EB weapons, because the EB weapon is about the same level of damage as the purified IS. So you're pretty much good to go. It's only a 7% on DPS, which honestly is not a lot if you ask me. So your best bet is to honestly go for a level 80 weapon if you actually wanna get really high stats and be OP like the rest of the people. That's what you go for. You go for the level 80 weapon and you plus 15 it. You don't go to plus 10 or anything, you plus 15 it if you really want to get like 20% or something like that, or 15% of a difference on stats versus the 65 purified weapons. Yeah, That's what you gotta do if you want to really be that much different. But overall, the weapon is not really that much different. It's still a really good weapon. It's on par with these weapons, actually. If you don't want to believe it. 100 attack difference isn't really that much of a difference anymore. A huge amount of difference on Aion, I would say 300 or 400 attack of a difference will be a lot on a Templar or even a Gladiator. That will be a lot, okay? But a measly 100 attack, it's not really that much anymore. It used to be a lot when you had, back in the day when it was 3.7 or 4.0, when you had 1000 attack and all of a sudden you upgrade to 1100 attack. That's a lot. You know, that in some way is a lot. Or no, actually to 1200 attack even. From 1000 to 1200. That's a lot. That's a 20% difference in attack and whatnot. That is a lot. So, further explaining my case, I also did a segment about the armor. I would say the most important stat you should look at is PvP defense. Alright? If you already have the 75 AP, I would say you don't really have to plus your the bottom accessories. But the way that this patch works nowadays is actually made the accessories more relevant to plus because of the 5.3 gear. They made the accessory even more relevant to plus than before, because the 75 AP gives a 9.3% PvP defense difference compared to the 2-star. I repeat, a 9.3 PvP defense difference compared to the 2-star. So the 2-star and the 75 AP is a 9.3% difference. Comparing the 70 AP with the 65 2-star is about a 2% PvP defense difference, which isn't really that much considering they both go to plus 15 and 16. There's not really that much of a difference. It's actually really comparable to the rank 1 mythic, because the rank 1 mythic AP set has a equip a set effect. So if you have all 5 pieces, you get equip a set effect, and the 70 AP doesn't have it. Plus it can break, and the 65 2-star and the 65 AP mythic, rank 1 mythic, or general mythic in this case, it doesn't break. So without further ado, I was doing some calculations on my total set, plus let's say if I had my accessories 10.5, like I had them to plus 5, I get the maximum 10.5%. You get a grand total of 40.7%. That's for people that still using the rank 1 65 AP and have their like bottom accessories plussed out, right, to 5. The upper accessories, except for the helmet gives PvP defense. Except the helmet, when you plus it, it gives PvP attack. So the bottom accessories and the armor gives PvP defense. So if you have your accessories plus the rank 1 armor with the helmet, fearless or arena will give you about 30%. So 30% plus 10.5, you get 40.7. And like I said, the difference between 2-star and rank 1 AP internal is 1.4% PvP defense. Therefore, you just add an extra 1.4% on the 75 AP. So the 75 AP is 10.7% more PvP defense than the 65. You also have to remember that the 75, you have to reduce the level and all that stuff, because if you don't reduce the level, you get PvP defense reduction on all of your stats, not just the PvP defense, all of them, okay? So if you have your bottom accessories and you have the rank 1 set all plussed out, Then you have the full rank 1 AP 65 internal, and the IDL or even the 4-star accessories or the rank 1 4-star accessories. You know, the one with the augmentable for 65. The maximum you can get is 10.5 PvP defense. That's unless you want to go higher to +6 or whatnot. The total you can get is 40.7 PvP defense on a rank 1 set. You divide that, right, by the mythic 75 AP. You just add an extra 10% on top of that, 10.7 I said, right? So you add 4, so 51.3, and yeah, it's quite a bit of a stat difference, but the stat difference is 20%. So I take my words actually. 20% is actually quite a bit of a stat difference. But again, it all depends on what you want to go for. If you plus up these accessories to +5 or higher, they should be good enough to carry you. But overall, the 75 AP and the 65 rank 1, if you have your bottom accessories plussed out, and you get the 75 AP but you don't have your bottom accessories plussed out, you're gonna have the same PvP defense. So honestly, shouldn't worry too much about it, because if these accessories are already plussed out, right, you already have the same amount of PvP defense as the 75 AP. But if you do get the 75 AP and you have the bottom accessories all plussed out of 5, the bottom accessories, anything is good that is blood metal or higher. Blood metal accessories are still pretty good, depending on what you want to use them for. For PvP, they're just fine, because you don't have to augment or condition. They're on par with the 65 non-augmentable AP accessories. They're about on par with them. They're not that much different on stats. And yeah, so, but the best accessory I would say I would go for is the IDL, because the IDL has higher base stats on attack, crit, HP, or accuracy. They're slightly below on PvP attack and defense. PvP attack and defense, I think, than the 65 2-star. 4-star accessories. My bad. 4-star accessories with the augment. So the 4-star accessories with the augment are better PvP accessories than the ideal accessories. They're only slightly below them, but you don't have to augment. There are very good accessories, and they don't break. Most of all, they don't break. The 65 4-star accessories and the ideal, they don't break, which is why they're really good. And also the arena accessories and the boundless accessories don't break. If you can, I would say go for boundless, because boundless accessories don't break. If you can grind for them. If you can't grind for them, if you can't grind for them and you have to pay to get them, then don't go for it. Go for the cheaper option, which is IDL, and just plus them up to +5 and you'll be good. The 75 AP is roughly about 1 tempering better than the 65 4-star accessories, which isn't really that huge of a difference, but it is a difference. So unless you wanna go higher, go for them, but you have to +5 them to be better than the 4-star 65 accessories. You have to, I repeat, you have to +5 them if you want to have better accessories than the 4-star for PvP. Other than that, if you already have +5 IDL or 4-star accessories, you're good to go. Bloodmark accessories are about +3 of a difference than the 75. So if you have a Bloodmark to +3, it's already on par with the 75 AP in terms of PvP attack and defense. In PvE attack. I don't know, I'm not sure if they give PvP defense to 75. If they do, they might be actually better than what I thought. I think the bottom ones give slightly more PvP defense. But even then, it just depends, because the 75 AP accessories do break, and they're not really that much different than the 65 AP accessories. And if you can, I would say go for boundless accessories, because one, you don't need to augment, they don't break, and they're 1+ better than the ideal accessories, and slightly better than the 65 4-star accessories. Anyways, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about. The next thing I want to talk about is PvP attack. PvP attack is based on the amount of damage you can do based on your stat. So if you increase your stat, you can also increase your PvP damage, which is true. And I already did the calculations because I didn't want to make the segment too long. I wanted to make it 20 or 25 minutes. I calculated that my damage between my Pure Incensed and my Aglis Greatsword Umbra is 7% overall in PvE damage, right? In damage overall. But with PvP damage, which is a different story, when I calculated it, even with the extra damage that I get, which is another 100 attack, right? With the extra 100 attack, I calculated about a 10% stat of a difference. So once you get all your PvP attack that you can get,
user disconnected from
I also forgot to add the 3.6 PvP defense on this. I forgot to add that shit. So it's actually much higher than it was. So let me do this again. Or 40.7 plus 3.6, I think it was, if you have it at, you know. And what was the other one that we have? We have 51.3 if you have the 75 AP plus 3.6. Please try to bear with me, guys. I'm recalculating something. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. 44.3 divided by 54.9, and that will make, yeah, it's about 19 to 20% of yeah. So yeah, even if you have this plussed out, if you already have the accessory, like I said, go for the, this is more important actually, plussing up your accessories first. If you have your accessories plussed out, then you can choose to go for the 75. If you don't see that it's worth it, then don't, because it's really expensive to go for, and on top of that the gear can break. I would say go for plussing up your accessories first. If you can plus 5 them, great, awesome. Then you can choose to go for the 75. Personally, I don't think it's worth it at the moment, because 1, it's expensive, 2, it can break, and 3, yes, the stats are good, but only good as long as you reach that level. Anyways, besides that point, let me get back to the weapon stat difference. Please try to bear, guys. The weapon stat difference is, with all the PvP attack I have, I'll calculate it with my pure IS was about 560 attack, right? And with my IS, my Aglis Greatsword of Umbra, I rounded it up to 620, and when I did the calculation, it showed me a 10% of a PvP stat difference. So this weapon here versus the Purified IS, supposedly in PvP, it has a 10% damage overall of a difference in PvP. Now, considering that's without the 0.6 extra PvP attack there, but on the magical defense, I was only doing physical, but I don't think it'll be that much of a difference. The stat is about 10% of a difference if you have the extra like attack. Like I said, if you have like an extra 100 attack, if you're comparing 1425 to 1000, 300, no, to 1325. So even with that extra 100 attack, my DPS is 10% of a difference. So honestly, overall, it really isn't. If you have already, for those people, those Templars, that people are being bashed, because I got bashed in Harmony, that people are telling me that my they were laughing at me that I was using a 65 purified weapon for PvP, but overall it's not really that bad of a weapon. It's actually still a pretty good weapon. The only weapons I would say are below what you need for PvP overall and PvE, because all you really need for PvP and PvE is just really, honestly, people like to over exaggerate, but you only really need a EB stat level of weapons. So the weapons, like I said, that give you those stats are the Purified Sorrow. If you purify the Sorrow, it will give you as much stats as a EB weapon. Purified IS, which gives you as much stats as a EB weapon. The reason why is the high base damage that it gives. The Purified DR, which is actually the second best purifiable weapon, and the Purified IO. But those weapons you have to get with 6 slots. And the Purified IO is so good that honestly it's not really that much of a difference between the Ancient Coin weapon, and it actually has the same stats. If you have it plus 15, it has the same stats as the Ancient Coin. It really does have the same stats as the Ancient Coin mythic weapon. And there's also DD. DD is the best non-purifiable weapon. And then is LMK. LMK is still a good weapon. LMK, EB, and Vashardi. Vashardi is also a great weapon, but that one kind of goes down and up, because you can get a 5 slot with really bad stats, and if you get a weapon like that, it goes below EB stat level, and you just don't need it, and it's actually better to get an Adma. But if you do get a really good Vashardi weapon, right, if you get a really good one, 6 slot, right, it'll give you a lot of HP. It can possibly give you higher stats than even EB. It'll give you on par on stats with the Purified DR weapon. So overall, if you get a good Vashardi weapon, if you run Orb and you want to get a weapon that is really good, right? Really good, somewhat on par with Ancient Coin, but you don't want to break any of those weapons, go for Orb or go for EB. Both of these weapons are good weapons. Just really depends on the stats you get on them. But overall, that's what I know about the weapons. So for the Templars that play Aion casually or just play overall, if you have already a EB weapon, don't be afraid to use it just because you're being bashed by other players. I have beaten people that have, there are level 75 and have 75 AP gear with a fucking 65 purified weapon, and I was wondering why. Like, all this time I was wondering why I'm able to kill these 75 or 74 with a purified 65 weapon, and now I know, because the stat difference isn't really that huge compared to a 75 weapon. It really isn't. On the long run, it's only a 10 or 7% of a damage DPS difference in PvP. In PvE, overall is 7%. In PvP, I calculated, at least for my stats on my weapons, is a 10%. So other people, if they socket even better mana stones than what I have on my pure IS, they can possibly get even higher stats than what I have, and therefore the gap between the IS weapon and the Arc Diva 75 weapons won't really be that much of a difference. It could, yeah, like I said, it can be about 7 to like 10% at best of a stat difference in PvP and PvE. So it's not really that huge. But for some people, if it is that much of a difference, go ahead, but I guarantee you that 7 or 10% You could barely see the difference, honestly. You won't really see it, because I use both weapons in PvP and they do just fine. Also, real quick, I'm gonna talk about the extendable. I'll make this video 30 minutes. I want to talk about the extendable. That's another thing I want to talk about for gladiators and temps. This depends what you want to look for, because the provenance extendable, I repeat, the provenance extendable is an overall good weapon for everything in PvP, meaning has good accuracy, good attack, good crit, and it can extend. The 65 can extend, but has decent attack, decent crit, and decent accuracy. And actually the stats are really low below EV level of stats, or even below IS level, or just about IS level, maybe around there. And honestly, those stats compared to a mythic weapon is kind of bad, to be honest. But comparing a purified IS or a EB weapon with the 65, I've calculated that the difference is still about a 10% damage difference. So if you compare a 75, which I'm gonna say this right now, you do not compare an extendable with a non-extendable. You don't compare those stats. Like I said, extendables are strictly made for PvP, and that's what they were used for. Back in the day, it was to counter mage classes with those weapons, and it can still do that. Just nowadays, most people use Providence, because Providence overall gives just better stats. But like I said, it really depends what you want to go for. If you want to be like me, you spent a billion kina, you get a full plus 16 weapon with the gods and everything, and you get a good PvP underfuse for that weapon, right? And all you really need is to kill, because clothies are really not that they're not really that tanky. They're actually really easy to kill because because they just are squishy as fuck, the cloth classes. So an extendable like the Ferocious Longtooth or the 65 upgraded mythic or the 65 mythic DLR extendable, ADLR weapon is all you really need for be able to kill them with an extendable, because the extendable really is only to kill cloth classes, but because of block sets, it makes it even harder to kite and kill clerics and all those those really nasty clerics with block sets. It just counters your extendable so hard, because look at the fucking accuracy you get with it. Now accuracy is only good enough to kill clothies. So that's why they gave the Providence. Providence gives also extra damage just to be able to kite and to be able to kill the clerics, and that's what the Providence weapon is for. It's not just to kill clothies, it's also to kill clerics. And you have a great, perfectly mana stoned and enchanted Providence, it should be able to cut through a cleric like butter. But if your Providence can't cut through a cleric like butter, then you just haven't done a good job on your Providence. You have to keep working on that. Anyways, like I was saying, the stat between my extendable, but that also depends if I put really good mana stones. Apparently, I can get this weapon even better, probably to 1200 attack. But in the sake of telling how much stats I get, I had 1178, right? Or is it 9? Yeah, it's 8. Divided by 1324, the stat difference is about 11%. 11 to like 10%. So yeah, it's expected to have a big difference in stat, because that's what the extendables are made for. Antisoft didn't really give massive amount of attack and damage on a extendable, because they thought it will be OP when they fight overall all the classes. However, in 5.0 that was not the case, since the provenance rivals any of the non-extendable level 80 weapons. It really does rival those weapons. Even it rivals the sophisticated weapon and damage, and honestly I don't believe the damage to be that much huge. It's probably a 3, maybe to a 4% of damage in overall, even in PvP. However, I would say go for sophisticated, because in 5.5 you will need that weapon for PvE damage, the new stat that they're giving out on Aion. But at the moment, if you are a Templar and you play Aion for fun, you having an EB weapon or a Shardy weapon, Mythic with 6 slots, or a DD weapon, or a Purified IS, or even a Purified Cyril weapon. If you get a Cyril weapon, 6 slot, right? You have to get a 6, oh no, you don't have to get a 6 slot. If you get a Cyril weapon overall, when you purify it, you get a 6 slot with conditioning. And it's still really good weapon. And you plus 15 it, it's on par with the EB. So all these weapons, all the purified weapons, those are all great weapons. If you don't want to go for any of those weapons I explained, or if you really don't want to get a weapon that breaks, you can just go for Ancient Coin Mythic and it's perfectly fine. Plus 10 it and you're good. Or like I said, if you're a really old player and you really don't feel like going for the newer weapons, unless you're sure of yourself, because it took me a while to be sure of myself to get me a weapon for my temp, because a lot of these weapons I broke quite a bit. I broke my mace, wait, that's not it, and it's really hard to get Templar mace. I broke my mace a few times until I get a plus 10 one. I broke it 2 times until I finally get a plus 10. I broke my greatsword once, and where is my Iblis greatsword? Yeah, I broke this weapon once at plus 7, and luckily I was on another account. Luckily NCSoft didn't find out that I was posting on another account, and I broke it, and I send in the ticket, and they can give 1 restoration per account, right? And they restored it, and I gave it back to my temp. I'm happy that I got my greatsword back, and after I got it to plus 10, I used my last Omega with supplement, and I said to myself, well, if this weapon doesn't go at least to plus 10, it just deserves to break. So, and I plussed it, and that was it. And I'm not going for any new weapon. I told this to myself, I'm not going for any new weapon. These weapons overall are fine. I don't want to make my Templar like supremely OP, because that's not my goal. My goal is to get him somewhat competitive in PvP overall, and fight overall against other PvP players, which I think I have done a great job. I have 4 weapons for that case. I haven't built my Templar to be the best and the best player, like #1 player in the server, because for that I need to spend real money, and that is not something I want to do. So that's all I gotta say. I explained some of the things you can look out for stats, and next time a player, when he says that, oh, you're under geared, you don't have the stats, just do your own math, explain it to him thoroughly and properly, and hopefully he understands. If not, well, just know that to yourself. This is how you do stats and how you compare. You can also do that with the HP on every set. Also, if you have a well plussed out rank 165 set, AP set for PvP, or even a blood metal set. The blood metal I don't really like because it doesn't give enough magic suppression for PvP, which is actually, that's why the AP set is always better, because of the magic suppression. If you have a well plussed out set for PvP that is blood metal or higher, you are good to go for PvP. Because a plus 15 AP set is about on par with a plus 10 level 70 rank 1 level 70 AP set, or the rank 165 AP is about the same as a plus 10. So it really depends what you guys want to go for. I explained as best as I could. I hope I haven't confused none of you guys. If you guys got confused, please comment underneath the comment section, and I will try my best to explain it. I'll even try to show a simulation on Aion Gear Calculator to explain the stats and compare them to you guys. If you're really having a hard time to explain, if you're having a really hard time to understand the stat differences of how the gear works and whatnot. For me, what I have on my character is actually perfectly fine for what I want to have and what I want to do. Like I said, it only depends what you want to do on Aion. I explained that the 65 purifiable weapons and the 65 on par weapons that are on par with the purified weapons are about the same level as the 75 or 70 Arc Diva weapons. If you don't believe me, just do the same thing I told you. Like, if you already have or you can do it from someone else, you can just ask their stats, compare it with your own stats, and you will see the difference. Like, if let's say the person you're talking to has 1,400 attack, and you have 1,300 with the weapon that you currently have, you compare that and you will see the damage difference that you get. And it kind of works the same way with PvP attack. It's just a little bit different because you have to first deduct how much of that amount of attack actually goes through with your PvP attack, which is why really important to plus out your accessories. If people tell you plussing out your accessories is not really that important, they are so wrong. Plussing up your accessories actually puts you more on par with the 75 AP than you actually think. Believe me, it puts you more on par. If you don't have none of your accessories plussed and you have the 65 AP, I suggest you work on your 65, you plus that out. I'm just trying to help out on people that are like me and just play the game and work really hard, and they don't pay to win, and they're just getting foot stomped and trash talked by other players. You get the 65, plus that out, you get really good accessories. Really good accessories are Boundless, Ideal, 4-star accessories. And if you want to, if you're really sure, and you're completely sure, you can go for the 75 or 70 and plus them out. The only difference is they break. That's why the whole reason why I didn't go. But the best choice is to go for Ideal. Blood Metal are good for PvP because they do have decent, they used to have pretty good PvP attack back in the day, but now their stats on PvP attack is decent at best. The reason why I'm not recommending too much the Blood Metal is because, like I said, it depends what you want to go for. If you want to go for PvP damage overall and PvP attack, Blood Metal are just fine, honestly. Blood Metal are just fine. You just plus 5 those and you're good. Because a plus 3 Blood Metal is about the same as a as a plus 1 75 AP. So if you have a plus 2 75 AP accessory, you have pretty much a plus 5 Blood Metal accessory, or Blood Mark accessory. Those are the stat differences. You pretty much have a 75 if you have a plus 3 Blood Mark accessory. But it really depends, because I like the Blood Mark because, one, you don't need to augment or condition, so it saves you a little bit of, augmenting and conditioning, all those stuff, those stupid stuff that they put in the game. And I really like that about these accessories. Or if you have some Serra medals, you can always so go for the 65 non-augmentable accessories. And although all those are completely fine gear sets for PvP and PvE, those are perfectly fine stats for that. The only thing about the Blood Mark accessories, if you want to go for pure MR set, like I have, this is my MR set, and I cannot go on my essence, but anyways, the maximum I can hit is 3,113, And with these accessories being, let's see, IDL, I could have probably hit an extra 60 or 50, but I didn't want it to go for that because I already had these accessories plussed back in the day. So I just wanted to continuously plus them. And yeah, that's all I could say. The best choice of accessories right now in game, honestly, is IDL. But if you can, go for Boundless, because Boundless don't break. And Boundless is, like I said, is one tempering of a difference compared to the IDL. So overall, I hope all of this helped on stats, because I really wanted to throw this out because I had, like I said, I had complaints like I was made fun of that I was using a 65 purified IS, and the person just could not understand that the stats aren't really that much of a difference than he really thinks. He just thinks just because he looks at the weapon, he sees like arrows pointing like this. He sees arrows pointing like that. he automatically thinks that the weapon is bad and is garbage. But that's not really the case. I explained the stat, you can do it yourself. There's actually a website called Aion Gear Calculator. You can do the same thing. You can get a weapon, like an EB weapon. The EB weapon is the best weapon actually to compare things to. You plus 15 and you get another weapon. Like a 75 or 80 weapon. That's how you do it. You get a 75 or 80 weapon. Don't be lazy on doing this, guys. This is important. You get a 75 or 80 weapon. You plus 15 them. You click compare, right? You see the attack difference. You cut the attack difference and you divide it with the attack of the lower weapon, which should be the EB, and you will see the percentage, which would be a 91 or 92, something like that. And if you use a level 81 will be about 15%. So it really just depends on what you want, because honestly these weapons are good as is, depending on what you want to do. If you want to do casual overall PvP and PvE, because with that weapon you can run any PvE instance that you wish. Honestly, you can run any PvE instance that you wish with EB weapon plus 15. It's good enough for that, and it's also good enough for group, and also it's good enough for solo PvP in 1v1. But if you're fighting someone who's overgeared, that has everything plus 20 and plus 10 accessories, you're not really gonna do much with a EV plus 15. Face it. That's when the newer weapons come in, because they do give extra more stats and stuff. But like I said, it really just depends. And those people that are saying it's a bad weapon, it's not, because I've killed 75s with a purified IS, and I sometimes at all I don't see any difference. In fact, I don't really see any difference between my purified IS and my level 74 or 75 Agla's greatsword weapon that I made for my Templar for, you know, melee classes, because it has a blind godstone on it. This one I made for Clothies and against Cleric. This one is also for Clothies, for long range. And yeah, this is my overall PvP weapon, and I always use it as my overall. And I try to explain everything, and I know I sound like a broken record. I just really want to make sure that you guys, the ones that are watching my videos, understand. And if I get a hate comment, so be it. And I hope you guys, you know, understood everything I talked about. And if you don't, just write a comment. Anyways, that will do for now for this segment. And whenever I get another time, I'll do another video. And I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye. Peace.